recording as well. Add section. So I'm going to do one for stocks and one for crypto. There we go. Okay. So let me open up chat. Yeah, how you doing, bro? Jasper, welcome in, man. Ronnie, welcome. First and foremost, I really want to look at Lemonade. And again, the reason I want to look at this, this is one of the ones we've literally in from the challenge account from the lows, right? We've been holding this since last year. And this one's played out amazingly, as you can see. This one, we nearly, well, at the peak, it was nearly 150%, right? At this peak over here. And if it exceeds that peak to take this out, it'll be even more.
Can you share the screen, please?
Oh my God, I'm so sorry, bro. I keep forgetting to do that nowadays. There we go. Can you see that now? Perfect. So we'll look at Lemonade. So this one is one of the ones, like I said, we've been in for the challenge account, right? We've been in this one from the lows. And we'll if we go up higher than this peak, which I hope we do, then what we're going to be looking at is to take out these, right? Especially this high right over here. That's the goal now for Lemonade. Go take that out, 115, and also this sort of buyer seller zone here on the weekly, right? Go and tap into that. There's a weekly fair value gap just above this entire range, especially the top half of this range. There's a lot of to be raided should Lemonade decide, yeah, you know, I want to go and do that. Right? Nothing about this chart right now is bearish. All we've done is hit key targets, right? But just hitting key targets itself is not a reason to be bearish, which is why I'm on the footprint charts right now live, trying to see, okay, now that New York's opened, what kind of sort of price action are we going to get around this, right? Because if we'd gone and put a lower high in here, for example, it would be bearish, but you can see we've opened extremely bullishly, right? Very nice. We went down. Majority of the trading activity happened at 91.65 after the clock opened 12 minutes ago, and then it's just been up since then. So hopefully this can now go up, and you know we can challenge 99.65 and go up to 113 to the 132 range, right? And if you exceed that, then it's a weekly fair value gap fill at 140. But if not, then we'll be paying close attention to the actual price action that happens over here. Should we go up, put in the lower high in, distribute within the 3.618, right? So on and so forth. Raid to lower high, so on and so forth. Distributed structure come in around this area. Then I'll be looking to take even more off. We've already taken half off at 2x. Well, I'll take more off, right? And just size back up should we eventually go to actually take these out now, right? But the macro trend right now is extremely bullish on Lemonade, which is why I'm keeping an eye on it. The other one that I really want to watch is, of course, NIO. This is another one we're in, right? We've had a nice retracement since taking out the last lower high that led to the lower low. And now, the beautiful thing is, we're at a significant area, right? The reason we're at a significant area is because if I was to go to this, and let me just figure out which time frame this is on. I believe this to be on something like, if you go to 3 months, right? If you go to the 3 months, look, if you go to the 4 months, you'll notice where we are. We filled a 3 month, right? Specifically the 3 month, that's a quarterly fair value gap. We filled it and now we're reacting off it, right? So as long as this area holds on NIO, this could very well put in the high low before we go higher, right? Again, if the last lower highs that led to lower lows taken out, realistically, we're just looking for a higher low to come in, right? And should we, for example, take a look over here, right? Trust the diagonals, see, do we have any confluence for this area? Well, we've 764, 786, right? If we can do something like this on NIO, this looks good to like challenge back to the upside, right? Otherwise, maybe one stab down, raid, something like that. But if this turns to resistance, then ultimately I'd probably be looking for this PRZ back again, give us a proper type 2 return. Because again, if you take a look, don't forget what this wave structure is, right? This wave structure for NIO is a crab. You see that right here, 618, 786, 3.14, 1.618, right? So the 1.618 and the 3.0 is here, the 3.14 is down over here. We have this massive area where we've had a beautiful price action, and if anything, if we come back over here, right, we're going to be putting a beautiful smiley face in. This is going to be Wyckoff, if I've ever seen one. Should we get that full revisit back to the 378 to the 327 general area, especially if you manage to hold that 378 area right over here. Right, if we can hold that, we're going to have some extremely beautiful Wyckoff structure coming our way as well. So this NIO for the long term again looks nice in my opinion. right? This looks very, very good. And again, there we go. Let me get off log. There is your 3-month fair value cap right over there, right? That's the one being filled. And again, if I look at this on the daily or something like this, right? Even the 1 hour, and we switch over to this, and let me take a look. Let me just, because the volume for this is so low right now, not many people are buying it. I have to really use low ticks. That is the opposite of lemonade right now. You're rejecting off your point of control, right? So that's not something you want to see at strength open. You want to be trading above that. But maybe we get some sort of like, midday gap fill to higher, or if not, we turn to this, the resistance. We'll be looking for those lower prices on NIO. But both of these are in macro areas, right? Just few stocks, right? Just a few stocks. Not lemonade, but rather NIO is at a macro area where, once again, if you missed the original move up, right, where we caught more than a 2x on this originally. Again, this is a risk-free trade. This is the area where you pay attention to, right? In case we don't get that full revisit, this is the type of area where the lows might be potentially coming in. If this is lost, then we probably get that full revisit down at the lows on NIO. Right, so as you can see, there's opportunities, right? It's not like we are lacking opportunities. There is opportunities. We just have to wait for the capital rotation to really reap the benefits of those opportunities. Again, like I said yesterday, where is the capital right now? It's very simple. The capital is in metals, right? There's no two questions about it. The capital is in metals. So there, that the trend shift has happened, right? We haven't even hit the T1 of the actual wave structure. We're just creating a range, and we know how range works, right? We've seen it with Link, we've seen it with XMR, we've seen it with Dash, we've seen it with pretty much everything that's had a massive rally recently. Like, range is not bearish. Once you go to the lows, the range is what gives you structure, right? And if this is the lows and we're not going to challenge these lows, you want that range to come in here. It doesn't matter if you revisit these lows, because on the higher time frame, that's going to be even more bullish. Right? Imagine we go down to 378 and we see it holding. We see the smiley face. We see range held. We see that buyers are defending areas they need to. We see the range lows is being respected. We have a high RR opportunity trade. That's where it's the best to throw size into things like this, right? Otherwise, if you don't get that, this is the area where I would see a bottom coming in. If not here, I think we revisit 378 to 327. But NIO, I'm interested in, not because, again, I think the company is amazing or anything like this. I don't even know what their revenue was for the last couple of years, right? Or anything like that. I'm simply playing what the chart is telling me, because you guys know my beliefs. The chart precedes any sort of news that's going to come out. It does, right? Which is why we were able to catch LAC so early, before that came out. Right, the chart's going to give you a good RR opportunity. The buyers and the sellers are going to be showing you what the directional intent of the market is, and if you can sniff that out, you don't have to be sat there waiting for news every single morning. The news is rather, in my opinion, a byproduct, right, almost, of what the actual chart's telling you. It's very rare that something is at support and then you have a cumulative structure, and you have sellers being absorbed, and you have buys being rewarded, and then you have multi-year wave structures conforming. You have all of these things lining up. It's very, very uncommon that after all that, all of a sudden you get slammed with some bearish news that just nukes the chart, right? If that happens, typically it's going to be at resistance, not at support. So that is NIO, right? And that is Lemonade. Lemonade, I'm just going to keep a close eye on through the duration of today, because I really want to know if buyers can keep this rally going. I really hope they do. I hope they keep pushing this up to 115 next, right? But yeah, this was a beautiful play on the stock challenge account, right? Lemonade, risk-free. Same with NIO, that's risk-free. Both of these more than 2x'd. But yeah, so that is NIO, that is Lemonade. Full, again, I know there's going to be people in the server who've never seen a full ABCD hit before, but that was a full ABCD hit like we saw yesterday at the 3.618 all the way to the top. And I'm hoping this is what Bitcoin does eventually, because we know Bitcoin is in a macro ABCD. It's just a matter of when, right? But that is NIO, that is Lemonade. So I don't even think I need to do anything else for this chart. Again, you can go to the yearly, you can start putting buy-seller zones on should you choose to do so, right? But for now, I think it's very easy to play this with the range, right? Sometimes simplicity is the best. We see the macro range we're in, we see what targets we have in terms of the wave structure, and we see where we currently are and why we're bouncing. So as long as you know these three things and you know where you're going to go if this area is lost, I think that there is beauty in that simplicity that we're seeing right now, right? NIO, for that reason, I'm keeping an eye on it again. Now, Estee Lauder, another one I wanted to quickly touch on today, simply because This is another one in the challenge account, right? And the thing I said was, if you ever reclaim 102.22, we're probably going to see 124 next. Let me just see, 122 to 124 next, right? 127 after. So we're nearing that. As long as you're above this box, we're going to get that 124 to 130 fairly soon, in my opinion, right? So Estee Lauder, again, this one was also given way ahead of time, and I give this one when there wasn't even really structure, right? So this one I called early, simply because I knew there was a massive, absolutely massive M shape, 0.5886, right? Literal perfect bat. Oh, the only thing is this ain't a 2.618, doesn't matter, right? There's a 0.5, there's an 886 on the dot. We had this massive wave structure completion. These are areas where I'm going to be paying attention. Right now, of course, I didn't give this right at 53. I only saw that wave structure after that had happened. But what we were saying was, look, okay, if the trend shifts then, and then you can maintain above the trend shift, right? Which is what we've done. You can see, right? The trend shifted and you maintain above. Just get into Estee Lauder. That was the entry trigger, right? And again, we're up a good 42%, right, since then, which is not bad at all for saying it's a stock. And hopefully, you know, we get that 120, 122 to 130 area, 146, 159, so on and so forth, right? The T1 is all the way at 173, should we get it? So, you know, a lot of these wave structures are going to require some patience, right? You know, liquidity needs to flow into these, and, you know, there's limited liquidity in the world. So, everything's going to have their turns. Everything's going to be, you know, some things are going to be bullish, some things are going to be bearish. Right now, crypto's in the dumps. It might crash even more before it really, you know, goes up, right? I mean, talking in terms of seasonality, you know, gold outperforming is good for crypto in the long term, right? Because typically what happens is, if you want Bitcoin specifically to really rip, is when gold is up, right? And when gold is up is when Bitcoin's on a downtrend, and 46 months later, typically speaking, that's when, you know, Bitcoin catches up, right? Again, this is not anything science. You just have to go and look at historical correlation, right? So there's still, you know, I've still got hope that money rotates into crypto this year, right? It's just a matter of when. Are we going to stick with that seasonality? Is it going to happen tomorrow? Who knows, right? But all we can do is, right now for crypto, watch key levels, watch our buyers defending the key levels, is it being rewarded, so on and so forth. And then we will see what happens after that, right? If, you know, buyers defend support, we have a chance to then rotate liquidity to the upside on crypto, right? Money slowly coming back in. If we don't, then we keep bleeding liquidity until buyers are ready to, like, you know, get that big rotation of capital in, right? But Lemonade, Neo, and Lemonade, I think, is rejecting for now. Just keeping an eye on things. Yeah, that's a nothing burger candle right there. Let's take a look how the hourly is developing. There's more liquidity in Lemonade than Neo. That's how we know, right? Let me change the ticks. I mean, as long as you're above this, you're fine. But you can see very clear. Look, there's trap traders here on the hourly already, right? There is trap traders here. We can see that. We can see 505 sells versus 1,740 buys, 325 sells versus 1,840 buys, and yet we've not been able to breach that. So here are some trap traders, and there's going to be money in sending this, like these trap traders being sort of forced to close their positions lower, right? So let's keep an eye on how this happens. Currently speaking, I will not be surprised if Lemonade, if we cannot go and establish above 3.14, which is 92.77, I won't be surprised if we did collapse back down to take all of these out at some point soon. So we'll keep an eye on that. But that is Lemonade, that is Neo, that is Estee Lauder, right? So let's look at a couple cryptos then, right? Let's take a look. One I wanted to really look at is something we've played many times last year, and I got an alert on it a few days ago, and I just didn't go over it yesterday. So if I go here and I type in Pump Fun, or is it just Pump USDT? One sec. There we go. Yeah, this is, I'm interested in this one, and you guys can probably see why I'm interested in this one. Okay, so I did get into a scalp on it like a few days ago, but I didn't call that one because obviously, like, I wasn't really active, right? I can't maintain a scalp. But the reason I like this is because obviously, if you first look at this, and if you look at this in here, because one of these I've got Speaking of scalps, one sec, guys. I had an idea yesterday which I thought was a pretty good idea, but it might be a shit idea. You guys let me know. Okay, here. Right, here's the original reason. I really liked Pump, right? We literally caught this move up to the upside, right? If you guys remember, this is, in fact, this is in the Weatherman chart dumper. Holy shit, welcome in, guys. Bushido, Gig, Miranda, welcome in. Thank you for joining. This is in here, right? I didn't even share this on Twitter because this was when the dump happened, obviously. But where is it? Weatherman chart dump. When was this one? Yeah, Pump Fund. This was September, sorry, right? Towards the end of September-ish. So what was the reason? Hang on, we had a play. Let me just see what it was. Entry price 2576. Yeah, so the entry was low, right? The entry was 25. Well, it can't have been September then. September 10th, 2020. Oh wait, no. September 16th, 2025. September 10th. Why did I give this? One sec. Oh yeah, because we had massive ABCDs on Pump. That's why. Yeah, I remember this now. We had really big ABCDs on Pump, right? That's the last time we played it. That means I have another chart that I'm not using. I'd use the gate chart. Pump USDT. Here we go. This chart, right? There we go. That's the chart, right? The ABCDs, so on and so forth. September. The last time we played this, right here, because we entered way in advance, right? We entered way in advance, and all we had to do was wait for the actual price action to pick up. And the reason for the entries, very simple. We had, again, look, does this not look sort of similar to Neo right now, by the way? That's the question I ask you guys, right? This is why you want range at your key levels, right? But we entered back over here, right? Because we had ABCDs and the lows were holding, the buyer zones were holding, we had completed wave structures. We went over this a lot back in 2025, right? And then this played out very nicely. Look, this gave us an insane move up on Pump before, we got the actual nasty sell-off. But now, another thing I want to bring to you guys' attention now then, right, is the actual nasty sell-off itself. Okay, so let me just make sure of something. This right here at the low is from 0.005. This right here from the low on Bybit is from, so it was back over here, is from 0.001, 0.0005. We're going to go with the gate chart, okay? Just the gate chart's fine. There, again, and you can see, like, look, literally same levels from the past is what we're using as support and using as resistance, right? You can see right here is kind of incredible when you know how to find significant levels, how good this is, right? We haven't updated this chart since back here, and you can just, all you have to do is look forward in time, same levels. But let's clear this out, or rather, I'm going to retire this by doing this, create a group of, that's going to be one sec. This all the way up till this should let me create a group of drawings, and then I can put this one on, lock it in place, hide it. Okay. What I'm interested in now is this one right over here. We have a completed M shape on Pump Fund, right? You can see that right here. And in fact, on Bybit, I'm pretty sure the 886 has been hit, but doesn't matter. There's a bit of a differentiation between the different exchanges. Fact of the matter is, we've got a completed bat, right? That much is extremely obvious over here. There's your completed bat, current cycle. Oh wait, no. Let me put the targets down, right? So here is for harmonics. Here's your high. Here's your low. There you go. Lock it in place. And let me just go and get rid of these, because again, some of these we really don't need. If I'm just trying to explain things to you guys know what all the ratios mean anyway, right? So 3, 4, and 6, 6. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so we've arguably had our type to return for Pump Fund, right? We have had a type to return for Pump Fund, and you guys can see that because right over here, there's your impulse straight up, right? That's your type 1, boom. Type 2, all the way back down, right? That's your type to return. Not only that, not only do we have a type 1 and a type 2. One sec, let me just go back to the chat. You're welcome, Rudy. Hello. Hello, Miranda. Hope you're well. But not only have we, do we have that, right? Another important thing that we have is, of course, if I just go ahead and do this, that's 1 and that's 2, right over here. Right, so here's your 2024 high. No, sorry, 2025 high. I'm still in the... And the idea I had, before I forget real quick, so I know there's a few guys here waiting for more scalp focus streams, right? Now, I don't know when I'll be scalping. I don't know, like, you know, because I can't give a timetable for these things. Like, obviously, you guys know with the hedge fund, with the... Apart from the hedge fund, with the multiple businesses I already own, my time gets very, very sort of all over the place, right? It's very hard to be like, I'm going to scalp this day, every day, so on and so forth. Or if the market conditions, so on and so forth, will be there for me to scalp to begin with. So the idea I had yesterday, I was thinking, right, for the people that are also waiting for lower time frame content, how can I appease sort of not just the higher time frame people, the lower time frame too? I think what I'll do is, so obviously I have my laptop most days, right? My laptop when I'm traveling or when you know, in my businesses or so on and so forth. You know, when I'm commuting, I typically have my laptop. So what I can do is, as long as I have a Wi-Fi connection and a power source, right? And obviously I don't need my laptop for other purposes. I can just do live stream. I can go live, right? Obviously I'm not going to be speaking. I can go live, and I can simply open up whatever asset it is we want to be scalping, right? So typically most times probably going to be BTC, and then I can obviously once I'm live streaming my screen, I won't have to be talking. What I'll do is all the key levels will be mapped out, of course, right? Because obviously I'll be sharing my screen, and then I can just put like where you would long, where you would short on the screen, and then obviously you guys can just tune into the stream for if you wanted to scalp, take a note of the key levels, and then you simply wait for that trigger to be hit, right? And obviously RR wise, you're gonna have to do that bit yourselves, because like I always say, guys, I cannot dictate your like, you know, how much you should put in and what your stop should be. I cannot dictate that for you in terms of, like, you know, how much are you willing to lose behind a trade, your position size, so on and so forth. That is up to you to calculate, but I can take the actual hard part out for you, which is stream with the key levels on and what trigger I'm looking for, right? You know, you'll have footprint charts on, so on and so forth, so you can see live when something's happening. If I have a mic and I can talk, I can quickly be like, oh guys, yeah, this looks good. If you want to try and take a scalp, you know, you can scalp here. If you want to long, you can long here. Otherwise, even if it's silent, like, you know, you guys will have the key levels, will have the footprint charts, and then all you have to do is, you want to just watch the stream. Even if I'm not active on the keyboard, just watch the stream. I'll mention beforehand what levels you're watching for, and then, you know, if you get the sort of trigger we're looking for, right, you see absorption, so on and so forth, you can just pull the trigger, and that way, you know, at least you're still getting that lower time frame content. Do you guys like that idea? Yeah, that's perfect, because like I said, it's like if you guys wait for me to just, you know, be free, I just don't know when that's gonna be. So I can do this even when I'm not free, because I can just have it on in the background, right? So yeah, I think I'll do that after I'm back from Nepal. This will also actually help you guys, like, you know what you're looking for, right? Me just going live and being like, guys, I'm scalping this, versus me streaming, putting the triggers on for you guys, and you guys to actually notice the triggers yourself. That's going to be way more practical in the long run, so that, you know, everyone here can actually stand on their own 2 feet, even on the lower time frame. Most people can do that on the higher time frame now, but even on the lower time frame. That's the idea I had. So if you guys like it, yeah, I'll do that. I think that'd be a good way to do it. So anyway, back to pump. We've got our this, and do I need to do anything on the 6? No. So for now, you know, that's just it, right? So we've got this. You know, yearly levels are being respected. They're being held. The last lower high that led to the lower low is technically, I mean, on a higher time frame basis, it is this one. But then I would argue after that, what you have is this one right over here, right? So if this one gets taken out, which is not done yet, and then a high low comes in, then you could argue for a shift trend daily to the upside, right? But so let me get rid of that one for now. We've got our yearly levels, right? We have our wave structure that we've identified, and let me just do this, create a group of drawings. There's the wave structure that we've identified, right? T1, T2, and primary projection all the way up there. And what else do we have going for us here then? Well, if we go to something like the 4 months, right, well, we can see obviously 4 month has also been respected right over here, right? There's your 4 month level, and of course, well, we don't need to know why we rejected where we did. This is almost too easy. hang on, current cycle, we have this seller zone right over there. Right, so we basically tap the seller zone, it's a rejection. So again, key levels doing their thing, no surprises there. Right, so let me just line this up with this high, perfect. There we go. So with this, we've got all the key levels we actually need, in my opinion, because you can see Pump has created very nice ranges around these, right? So we can see if we manage to break above 3.3, Pump is going to go. You can visualize this range mid right here first, right? You break above this said range mid, you go to range highs. You get above that, here's your range mid. You get above that, here's your range highs. It could not get easier on Pump. Right now, we're rejecting off, in this case, the previous range low, right? And current range high, we're rejecting off it. But the context for Pump is there, right? And one final thing that I really like, right, on Pump is, of course, let me see, does this show up on the other time frames? No, so this is going to have to be slightly zoomed in. But one final thing I really like is this. Okay, here is a weekly buy zone. You can make it a daily buy zone should you choose, but as long as you're above that, you can see historically speaking that has marked the low. As long as you're above this area, that's when the explosive moves have happened, right? So if you get a revisit to this area and it holds, perfect, good time to enter. If you want a lower time frame entry, something like a buy seller zone on the lower time frame, that would be a nice entry, right? Or if you want to play it completely safe and be like, I don't care about entering here, I just want to clear this major pivot level, you can get into Pump if we get above 3362 again. But I just want you guys to appreciate the ease at which around these levels we can go and actually base our risk and our reward, so on and so forth, on Pump, right? So I can do this as well. Put this here, not this one, but rather this now. That becomes the sort of line. So as long as we're above this line on log, right, we're good. There's your demand line now on Pump. So either this basically right now, for lower time frame entries, you're looking at this. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, here's a buy seller zone right here. Look, let me zoom in. That one there, right? I would manage my risks around this for a lower time frame entry if you want to scalp this, swing this, because if this holds, there's no guarantees we go lower, right? This one here. Otherwise, just either wait for the flip of the top or, wait until we revisit these sort of areas lower, right? But Pump has the wave structure. It has the sort of context, right? As long as you're above this sort of blue buy zone, we know we're in the clear, right? And you have very well-defined levels. You know what's going to happen above 33 in terms of TA, right? Your range mid is around 4152. Then the range high is between 5122 and 5447. Get above that, you have 6881. Get above that, you're challenging all-time highs. So this one, super easy if you want to scalp it at your relevant area. Super easy if you want to build spot on it, right? Because especially with spot, there's a million ways in which you can manage your risk. You guys already know this. So that's why I wanted to bring this one to your guys' attention, right? We have 12-month buy seller zone, and this is other time frame. There we go. Right, and that's where you would look for the scalp. But Pump, along with the wave structure, this looks good. That's a completed M shape with a type 2, right? It's with a type 2. So if we can build that structure around here, who knows, right? Because you look at this and what you notice, another thing you notice is potential smiley face, right? So, if this is now going to be a neckline and we revisit once more, you have a actual head and shoulder potential. Here's 1, 2, 3, right? And the neckline break out of that, for example, if let's say, we go directly to the neckline right here, at the point of flipping, would take you pretty much to range highs, right? So, there's a lot that's going on Pump, and there's a lot that can also further build. We just got to keep an eye on this. There we go. So that is Pump and the reason why I like it. Any questions on this one? Yeah, I've got no idea, bro. I've not even I can't lie, I've not really looked at the crypto charts properly in a long time. I keep an eye on Bitcoin. I keep an eye on ETH, of course, right? But apart from that, I'm in high-end time frame positions for my main port, right? It's got some spots, got a load of cash should we go lower, so I don't really care. It's like it can do what it wants. This is just, right now, speaking right now, everything's collapsing. I'm guessing this has something to do with the news of the interest rates being poor, so on and so forth, right? So AVAX looks fresh for $8 to $6 again. Should it go there? I'll add some, right? So on and so forth. So this is just, yeah, it's terrible price action right now. There's really not much going on, right? There's literally 1.618. That's a crab right there, right? 1.618 level right there. Maybe we visit that on Ondo and then go higher. Demand zone has been tapped. So these coins, it's like if they want to survive, they survive here. Otherwise, everything, literally everything, is going to 2024 lows. Just insane, isn't it? So, but yeah, let's take a look. ETH rejecting off historical price range mid, right? They're literally that midline. So many opportunities to even scalp short this, right? You can see, it just doesn't go above. This is extremely, extremely choppy price action. Doge at very, very pivotal areas at the completion point of many, many major harmonics on Doge, right? So if we revisit like 10, 9 cents on Doge, I'll just add more spot, right? Simple. So I just look where it is. And I do that in anticipation of once the dust settles, where can this potentially go up to, right? Again, risk to reward wise, that's simply it. ETH against BTC, chopping about that. Okay, that doesn't look nice whatsoever. This right here, we really don't want to get below 0.33 here. We don't. Otherwise, you know, the macro point of control is still below us for support, which is good. But this right here is starting to look distributive on the daily, right? So this isn't looking very strong right now. And even though the higher time frame trend is to the upside, we can see the weekly, we can see the 2 weeks. You don't want to stall and build distributive structures on the way up itself, right? So let's hope that, you know, this can be sort of like reclaimed. Since yesterday was a nothing burger in terms of FOMC, let's see what kind of move we get by mid-February, I say, right? Let's take a look. But yeah, the liquidity just isn't here right now, right? I'm pretty sure gold yesterday added the entirety of crypto total market cap to its thing. That should tell you where the liquidity is, right? So guess what? Once liquidity does rotate back in, all of these, like even though this is so much pain, you know how crypto works. It's like none of that pain ever existed within a matter of like a couple of weeks, right? But the hardest thing is surviving until that happens. Knowing when to cut, knowing when to add, knowing when to survive, right? Knowing how to survive rather, not when to survive. But it's insanely terrible price action, right? Very, very choppy, disgusting. PAL might genuinely go and hit that crab, and I'll be interested in this if it does, right? Simply because you'll have raided the entirety of the lows. At that point, you can just buy a fuck you bag and see what happens, right? You have 886, 1.618. That's a deep crab right there, right? If it goes and hits that. And I drew this back in June of last year, right? Because I posted a Twitter post saying, look, if we can reclaim these areas of support, PAL looks good, but below it doesn't look good, and we didn't reclaim it. Like, it's what it is. So yeah, a lot of trash. Bitcoin at 85. That's the reason we're bleeding. Take a look. Look at that insane candle on CME. This is dirty. This is choppy. This is filthy. We got the bearish back test of the trend line breakdown. Right. We had our support here. Chop. Very clean bearish back test. Now back to the downside. So if we can induce some shorts here, that's what I'm interested in now. If we can come and we can induce some shorts, right? Same thing here. That 4-hour area we know we were looking for didn't get reclaimed as support, right? So we hit our 1.5. We turned that back into resistance. Now we're on our way down. You know, like we were talking about, right? Once that's lost, you just take out the pivots on the way up. Here's a pivot. Here's a pivot. Here's a pivot. Now these are all targets, right? So this one has been taken out, as you can see, right? Taken out. The next one, the next pivot low right here has now also been taken out. The next pivot we have is going to be this, or in fact, what about this one here? Yeah, so here's the two pivots, and below that, the next pivot you take out is simply this one. All liquidity. People are long from here. There's money to be made in, you know, if they haven't taken profits to the upside, their stops are going to get hit. I guess what it is, right? So yeah, that becomes the target. But yeah, disgusting. And the funny thing is, all of this is happening while Bitcoin is still range bound. And that's always going to make people more fearful, because then the question begins, well, what if we go to 69k? Well, if that happens, all of these alts are losing their floors. That's what's going to happen, right? But this, let's see, right? The range hasn't been broken yet. We've taken out the range highs. Maybe we go take out the range lows and then, you know, pivot back to the upside. But if we cannot hold at the sweep of these lows, right, and we cannot defend, remember on the monthly, we cannot defend the monthly high low, right, which is right over here. We're going to go. There's no other question about it. In terms of volume, these are the targets down over here. Right. Let me quickly check the volume on Binance. Where's the key levels on Binance? King Bitcoin update. The Binance key levels are the Binance key level. There's 71 to 69k for Binance, right, which is 1.5, which is the 1.5 standard deviations. I'm just going to forward it to the chat to general. There we go. I'm talking about that one there. So that's the Binance one, and then you've used that on Coinbase in conjunction. We can see the next key levels are like 71k in terms of volume for between Binance and Coinbase, because those two ones are the ones I take seriously for this. But yeah, one sec. So you want me to take a look at Fire? Damn, that's the one I've not heard in a while. Is this one still going? This one here. Yeah, this is bottomed out for not bottomed out, sorry, but like it's at the low, right? Fire USD, crypto USDT, Gate and Mexi. Let's take a look. Yeah, okay, so 1, 2, 3, which has the most data? I mean, they're pretty much all the same. Might just go with the crypto chart then. Yeah, I'll just go with the crypto chart for now. There is nothing about this chart that is well, let's see. Okay, we have a low to a high. We're going past the 1, meaning I mean, you can't even, if we can't go there, that's negative price. So what about on log? On log there is nothing, so I think this is best done on log, honestly. Okay, what about this? Filth, honestly, just straight filth. High, low. Is this the proper lower high? Yes, it is. So try to base at the golden pocket, couldn't, turn it to resistance. Next golden pocket, couldn't, turn the 0.5 into resistance, down. Couldn't get above. Look at that. That is insane. Front run of the golden pocket, right? In this case, coming from the downside, the liquidity rate of the 618. Yeah, couldn't get above. Down. Resistance. Then the front run of the golden pocket, resistance, resistance. And now you're literally turning. This is disgusting. There's, I would say there is nothing, even if you put your money in this, bro, it's like you'd put in like $100 or something and forget about it. Whatever money you have absolutely zero attachment to, and then you'd hope, you know, somehow this has like an insane rally, like back to the upside, right? Like a few projects did this year, from the dead projects from last year. Otherwise, this is insane. There is absolutely nothing in this chart telling us that this is even worth keeping an eye on. Even right now, it's on its way to make fresh all-time highs. Last proper buy zone you had on a pivot has been turned to resistance. So area where buyers came in, turned to resistance. You don't want to see things like this at all-time lows once you've had such insane sell-off, right? That's just simply telling you there is still supply to be offloaded. Just not, it's not a strong look, basically, right? But yeah, terrible. I mean, you know, if you ever go and reclaim this back into support, then we can talk. Because no matter how bad the chart looks, you can have a area you can manage your risk around, right? And from there, it's like, you know, you could very easily get pumps like, because the thing is, if all the supply is gone and you add this low, it's going to be very easy to move. You saw the market cap for this thing, it was like 270,000, right? So you can catch an easy 10x in terms of, like, you know, potential easy 10x in terms of risk management, right? Below, if you reclaim that box and you just hope you put like $100 in, maybe it turns into 1,000, right? If you're lucky. Otherwise, you just cut if the box is lost. But right now, no, it's a pure like blindfolded gamble. There is nothing on this chart telling us, yeah, we look good. There's a potential edge here. Absolutely nothing. Yeah, nothing at all. Here is, yeah, on that pump wick. Yeah, this is insane, bro. I gave this one as well. This was one of the stinkiest plays I've gave. I gave this one like back over here, and this was one I gave on Twitter. And then I gave a very easy invalidation. I was telling people, look, if like, you know, if the buy zone is lost, obviously you get rid of it. Obviously, I just marked the box out, and then, you know, that was lost. Obviously, I cut my position. Yeah, there's some people who held this like without setting that stop loss. So this was one of the worst trades I've given in Twitter, in terms of, like, you know, some people took it and then they didn't actually put the stop loss in, didn't read what the invalidation was. So yeah, this one is terrible. But it's the problem with Twitter, man. Is why I don't really give calls there anymore. It's like I just share my YouTube vids, because there's absolute degenerates who don't know what they're doing, who just want like everything for free, come in there and they just, you know, don't understand what's being said. They just think, oh yeah, this is gonna be free money. If something goes wrong, I can blame this guy. If something goes wrong, I can, you know, take the credit for myself. That's the mindset in Twitter, right? It's just absolutely terrible. But yeah, fire. This right now, this doesn't look good, bro. It looks insanely bad. So yeah, let's see if, you know, something can make of this. We can make something of this in the future. But right now, nothing. So charts in the thing. Let's take a look. Does anyone have either a stock or a crypto they want me to look at? If you have one, let me know. Otherwise, I'm off. So just to recap, we've gone over. In fact, since we looked at it, let me put this on the live stream chart. Fire to LS. Where is it? Right here. What else did we look at today? Sorry, my brain's just gone blank. We looked at Say. We looked at we looked at Pump. Again, Pump, that looks good. Okay, so the charts that look good from today, Pump. Not right now, below resistance, but I mean, like, you know, especially now that we seem to be getting that pullback we were talking about, right here. So if I get off log once, I think that's the retest. So, you know, you'd be paying attention to this area. You can open a footprint chart. You can open up, like, you know, whatever you want to look at. This might be a front run, who knows? But if this holds, right, or better yet, you guys know what I love, a rate to a reclaim. If you get that sort of area, you can scalp to swing long this, back up to this, and hope this reclaims, because if it does, you're in for a wild ride up on Pump, right? If it doesn't and it turns to resistance, or you just don't see buyers being rewarded, you don't have to do anything. But yeah, Lemonade also, that is a distinct, yeah, there we go. That's what I mean, right? Sell off. So we're getting that fill like we were talking about. Go back to footprint charts. We are going to be below the point of control. There you go, and that's what you don't want to see. I think what I'll do, I'll wait for a few more candles to form here. This already hasn't even closed yet, but I might take a hedge short for the remainder of the positions of Lemonade. I might take a hedge short. I don't want to close the full thing yet on the challenge account, because obviously we've hit the 3.618, but the withdrawal and liquidity is still that wick, right? Just in case we do aim for that wick after a bit of shenanigans, I don't want to be positioned. I don't want to close too early. So what I'll do is I'll just open a hedge short instead, and that's not going to be for the challenge account. It's going to be for my main account. I'll open a hedge short, but it makes sense to do so in this area. I'll just wait for a couple more sort of candles to form before I really do that. So just keep an eye on it. Let's see if we can revisit this and do that. CoreWeave, where have we gone to now? That is a nasty weekly candle. Let's take a look. Yeah, rejected off the key area we were talking about, right? But we're trying to flip this into support here. That daily gap. I really hope that CoreWeave genuinely, I know I'm not going to sound like a doomer, but I hope it comes down and it gives us an 886. I would love that deep Carly 886. Correlation to like a tightening channel as well, massive falling wedge. If I go to the weekly, I can visualize it for you guys, something like this, right? We get that 886, you know, one more visit towards the lows, right? Raid, hold support, and then breakout would be amazing, I think. But let's see if we get it. AXTI, oh yes. Okay, SPX and Inch, let's quickly look at those two. Let's take a look at SPX. SPX 6900, yeah. No one should be in that right now. Because while I did say it looked good, that was obviously with the price action in mind at that time, right? If I go back here, in fact, if I go to chart dump, for XPX, there was a very, very clear line in the sand. If you get below this, you cut. Where is it? There. 0.4846, right? You get for a higher time frame, you get below that, you cut, and for sort of lower time frame trades, you get below the gray box, you cut. Boxes and lines are marked out for a reason, so no one should still be holding SPX because I believe the 886 for that was lost. So if I go to focus, SPX US, I suppose I should ask whether you mean SPX 6900 or you mean the actual SMP, but I'm gonna take a guess that you mean the actual crypto, bro. So let's take a look. SPX USDT. Right, let me just go here and figure out what chart was this. This was Uniswap V2 ETH. Okay. So if I go back to this, SPX USDT. Give me the Uniswap. How do you how did I even USD? I think maybe. There we go. Do you know what? It's going to be easier. It's going to be in Focus V2, I think, or Focus V3. Not in this one, so Focus V2. Ain't no way, where's it just disappeared to? One sec. Uh-huh. It must be one of those. This is really confusing. Just want to find the right chart where I actually drew that. Okay, let me just try and find it again. I think it's going to be a... It's kind of crazy that it got listed on Coinbase as well, but I suppose it's in like this Delta Exchange India. Damn, this thing's gone global. SPX taking me off, bro. SPX WETH. Okay, let me just type that in. SPX WETH. There we go. Perfect. There. Yeah, the invalidation was right over here. You go in, you start losing this, right? The 886, and you know, even if like you wanted to really hold on for dear life, you lose that red box, you're out. You turn that middle of that red box into resistance right over here, 21st of Jan, right? So that is, you know, when the invalidation is given and it's hit, that has to be taken seriously, right? You can't just pray and hope everything reclaims, because then, let's say anyone entered and was bag holding, this is the situation right over here, right? So this grey box with the lower time frame entries up over here. Obviously, for invalidation of that, you go to like the hourly to the 4 hours. For example, you see the breakdown, the mids turning to resistance, that's your invalidation for the lower time frame, right? For higher time frame, the range we have to hold is the 48.46, and the red box is your grace that needs to hold. Neither, right? You lost the 886 2.618, and then you turn the red box into resistance. You can see the mid closed below, right? Even the seller zone even got retested, the mid, just for extra measure. So right now SPX, I would do absolutely nothing until we have better structure, and that structure is pretty much going to be around this right over here. 0.3221, 0.25, and 0.39. You know, you go to these levels, you start putting in smiley faces, so on and so forth. That's where you look for things to come in. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know where this would go below these two. Like here, maybe, right? Because you've got big fair value gap here, buy seller zone, fair value gap. After that, yeah, Lord knows. Yeah, so that's SPX. Nothing much to say there, really. So I think let's quickly also look at silver and gold, right? Hang on, metals. So XAU gold. Is it going to the blow off top phase? Lord knows. But wouldn't be surprised if it did, right? 1.76, 1.764 has been hit. Let's see if we get a bearish engulfing candle and then some sort of lower high. That'd be easy short to take in terms of risk to reward. That's all there is to it. Goes hits our next key level, right? Above this, above the liquidity rate of the golden pocket, we know what the next target was. Same with silver. 1.618 has been hit. Now this is, I'm taking this target, that's the 1.618 in terms of log, right? So if we take a look, this from this high to this low, your previous basically wave structure, the 1.618 extension has finally been achieved on silver. 122, I think you just about got front ran, but by all intents and purposes that's been hit, right? And now you're attempting to build a daily bearish engulfing candle, right? And again, you can open up the actual, we've got a load of log perspectives on this as well. So if we go to log here, right, silver 128 to 131 in terms of macro log sort of levels is still in the cards. Otherwise, you revisit 103 and you want to see what kind of results you get at 103. If you can hold at 103, we can go higher. If you can't hold at 103, then we can go lower, right, to 93 to 86. But currently, in terms of log, we have the 1.618 being hit, right? That's the reason for this rejection. And on your macro fib levels are just above 128 to 131 as your next drawn liquidity. If you not liquidity, but rather next target, that would make sense where buyers and sellers step in. Liquidity in that regard. Bullish, but the daily bearish engulfings, if they could lead to structure over the next week or so, that can give us a nice short opportunity, perhaps, right, for a little cooling off period before we go higher. So we'll see. So that is gold and silver. But insane runs though, absolutely insane runs, right? And it's crazy to look at it, like even now, especially on log. It's why I love log so much. Pretty much every major thing that's happened has happened akin to a log level, right? And none of this is hindsight. Like, you guys know how we get these log levels, right? So that's that. Okay, and the last one was, if we look at AXTI, I do want to look at AXTI, so let's take a look at AXTI. AXTI, USDT, oh wait, no, not USD, Jesus, that's the NASDAQ. Begin the retest. Okay, there we go. So I'm not interested in this right now simply because I've got my lines for a reason, right? So below 17.15, I'm not doing anything until we either reclaim or we drop down to 13. But this one I'm interested in is a retest. Just take a look. And that was log, again, 13.52. The reason I like this is we've got massive structure here, resistance, resistance. So if we can now flip this into support, we're literally saying this area where it was supply before, and we know buyers and sellers were active, it was demand before, has once again flipped the demand, right? So I'm just going to be keeping an eye on this one. So keep an eye on it. But the monthly is not nice. Yeah. Inch, that's the last one for today. Inch. So stocks wise, AXTI, let's put this one into Bunker live stream. There we go. And then last but not least, let's go to this one should be on master list, but Bunker, and then let's go to Inch. here. Okay. Terrible. Terrible. Literally, that is not what you want to see. That right there, that is disgusting. That is filth. You don't want to, and not in a good way. That's a terrible type. You don't want to see that at all. Yeah, back to 328, I reckon, for injective. If you lose that, we're gonna see like $1 inj again. And this was the 2022 bits for me for injective, right? Insane run up since then. And you know, it's like, look, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because this is insanely tragic price action, but it's a blessing because you are building, once again, structures you kind of want to see on the higher time frame before they get resolved, right? You've got a falling wedge here. There you go. Right, eventually, like, you know, if this resolves how you would want it to, and market liquidity flows back into the crypto market, you're looking for this, the resolution for this, like even if it drops down to $1 again, right? Eventually, looking for the resolution to the upside. Even if it don't go all the way back to $53, who cares, right? If you manage to get in this at like $1 to $2 and it goes back to 18.20, guess what? You've made some good money on there, right? So yeah, let's just keep an eye on it. Nothing to do here right now, right? If you want to do something about it, it's going to have to be based around that wick there, the liquidation wick, the 1010 that pretty much destroyed the crypto markets as we know it. It's going to have to be based around that. There you go. Couldn't get above the mid, so $2.74 raid is what I'm looking for. If the raid and reclaim holds, then you know there's your entry. Otherwise, tapping into the actual key inflection. You could literally, like, I'm not gonna call you like a massive risk taker or anything if you were to set limit orders, for example, between 149 and 18 cents, right? I don't think it's gonna go to 18 cents. I'm not sure if it will. I don't think it will. But you can set limit orders for 149, right? 82 cents. It's been there before at the end of the day, right? It doesn't have to be much either. Just like, you know, maybe whatever you're thinking of putting into inch, maybe you could set limit orders with 40 or 50% of that. Right? Should we just have one nasty wick into there for spot, not for leverage, for spot. But that's because at these areas you want to own some, simply for the love of the game, if not anything else, because you're not selling at these lows, right? That's not what you want to be doing. Because at the end of the day, look, if you bought back in 2020 and you see this thing run up to $25 and you see it come all the way back down to $1.25, where do we think we currently are based on this cycle, based on this wave structure? We're here, right? We're literally here, somewhere around here, guys. Right? The only thing worse that can happen than this is actual injective dies. It's no longer a valid project. It goes to zero. But that's, you know, if you were to think about that about every project, obviously you're never going to end up pulling the trigger, because you could say that about Bitcoin. What's stopping Bitcoin from going to zero over the next like 1 year, right? There's nothing. We don't know what's going to happen. All we can do is at areas of value, manage our risks. So this, to me, it looks very, very similar to what was happening here. Like, obviously, when I was telling people, oh, Inch looks good, I was in uni when I was doing this, but when I was telling people Inch looks good here, no one bought. But that's because, guess what the sentiment was back over here? Absolutely dog shit. Bitcoin was at the lows, right? We've been in a bear market, so absolutely terrible sentiment, right? It was dog shit sentiment. So I'm not surprised people didn't buy. It's going to be the same here. People who've been buying this at $40 are now down literally 90% plus on their investment, right? $50, right? People who bought $40, yeah, 90%, right? So, you know, those people, there's going to be a lot of those people, because again, most people aren't going to have bought here, right? Majority of the trading volume is going to be here. You can see that, right? For retail. So yeah, let's see. 274, I'd say for Inch, as long as you're below this. 328 and then 274. Can do this real quick. There's your perfect there, this area below that key inflection. But yeah, terrible. It's because Bitcoin's taking a shit, so everything else is taking a shit. Aptos, I'm keeping a very close eye on this because I do want to get a nice spot back of this, like after everything's been ruined like this one, right? As long as it doesn't go straight to zero, I do think eventually that this will have one of those like scam pumps back to the upside, and I want to be in spot for when that happens. So you could argue you could just buy spot now, but I want a bit more than just, oh, I might go up, to actually put some money in, right? But yeah, Aptos, I'm still going to keep an eye on this one. AVAX at 10. Let's take a look. AVAX has so many key levels. This right here becomes the collective. You can see that's the whole reason we bounced in this area, right? We still have a very strong floor for AVAX here. I'm not worried about these higher time frame charts. Like it's gonna, you know, you hit resistance, it's gonna go to support, and as all we need is once it goes to support, we need buys to step in. That's all. But yeah, knowing crypto, we could outdo this by the end of the day. We could do it by the end of the week, or you know, let's see. Yeah, it's just because Bitcoin's behaving like this. That's what's giving us this fuel for the downside moves. ETH holding up well again. Actually, no, ETH against BTC is minus, so ETH is actually doing a bit worse than Bitcoin right now. But this, I do hope, I really hope this does go towards 44.67 minimum. I'm going to have such a bitter taste in my mouth if it doesn't even hit this. Simply because after a multi-year wave structure, I want at least T1 to hit, right? So let's see if it hits or not. But okay, that is everything from me today, guys. So I'm glad you guys like the idea about the scalping as well. Me just like, you know, live streaming silent and then just having the key levels on the screen, and you guys can pull the trigger based on like what's happening around those key levels. But yeah, that's everything from me today. Does anyone have any questions before I end it here? If I have time tomorrow, I'll do one tomorrow afternoon as well. But if not, I'll see you guys after I'm back from NP next. My pleasure, brother. No, I haven't. I've not looked at LTC. I can take a quick look for you. Is it absolutely falling off a cliff right now? Stocks. It's holding up fairly well for saying, you know, everything else is down. Yeah, it's not bad. Still a support. At areas where, you know, you want it to hold basically, right? That's where LTC is. You want LTC to hold within this area. Not much has changed since last time we looked at it, I'd say. Just slow weekly bleed outs, right? Slow weekly bleed outs. That's what we've got right now. But the macro thesis on LTC hasn't changed. Since 2019, since 2017, right? It's been making higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. So as long as we can maintain that macro perspective on this chart, LTC is the same argument. Argument for now hasn't changed. What you don't want to see, of course, is this. You don't want to see this rejection and then go to attack the entire sort of range, right? That's what you don't want to see, because that would be a case of now setting. That would be a case of a multi-year trap. That would be a case of a trap since like 2018, right? Building this footprint just to take everyone out. But yeah, let's see how it resolves. We're at the area right now. Just no bias, right? Just there's no bias. That's the problem. If you want to know what invalidation would be, like looking at this, if you could do invalidation around horizontals, you can do invalidation around diagonals, right? But a simple invalidation you can tell yourself is if you reject this, right? You go below, close below, and you cannot reclaim. That's it. You don't hold that, okay? For Litecoin. I'm personally probably going to be getting more of Litecoin against Bitcoin than Litecoin. Obviously, I'll get Litecoin as well, but I'm just like I did with ETH against BTC. I wanna stack up on some Litecoin against Bitcoin too. So I'll be looking at that. Okay. Anything else, guys? Any questions before I go? Get some food. It's my pleasure, bro. No worries at all. If you guys do have anything you want me to look at, you come up, you think of a chart, you see something interesting, or you have any questions, obviously, always here for you guys. Just put it in crypto chat, and I'll get to you as soon as I see it. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's gonna be it from you guys. I'm gonna stop this recording here. I'll see you guys if I have time tomorrow. If not, just whenever I'll ping you guys whenever I'm next free. If I'm free when I'm in MP, then I'll do it then. Otherwise, after I'm back around mid-Feb. Okay, guys, I'll stop this here.